6:30 a.m. The alarm blares. Your eyes open, but your mind is already sprinting. Emails, deadlines, news alerts, social media. Before your feet even hit the floor, you're in survival mode. You haven't left the bed, but somehow the world has already taken over. This is how most people start their day, not with presence, not with peace, but with pressure. But what if your mornings didn't begin this way? What if you could reclaim them, not as rushed routines, but as quiet rituals? The ancient Stoics believed that how we begin the day shapes how we live it. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor facing wars and betrayal, still found time each morning to sit quietly and reflect. Why? Because the first moments of your day are not trivial. They are sacred. They are where your inner world gets to speak, before the outer world tries to drown it out. You don't need a perfect morning. You need one that starts with intention, one that belongs to you, not your phone, not your inbox, not the news cycle. Because in those first 5 minutes, you have a choice to react to life or to lead it. And when you begin with clarity, not noise, you carry that calm through the rest of the day. Not because the world is quieter, but because you are steadier. Most people think of the morning as just another task, a series of things to rush through before the real day begins. But to the Stoics, the morning is not just the start. It is the foundation. Marcus Aurelius, writing from the chaos of the Roman Empire, began each day reminding himself of his values, his role, and the simple fact that he was alive. To him, those early moments weren't optional. They were essential. The first hour after waking is when your mind is most open and most vulnerable. You can either fill it with purpose or let it be hijacked by urgency. That choice determines everything: how you respond to stress, how present you are with others, how much clarity you carry into each decision. A Stoic morning isn't about checking boxes or being productive for productivity's sake. It's about preparing yourself, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually, to meet the day with intention. Before the noise begins, before the demands roll in, there's a brief window, a space where you can reclaim your thoughts, align with your values, and remind yourself, I am in control of how I live today. That's why mornings matter. Not because they impress others, but because they give you the power to choose who you are before the world tells you who to be. And when you own your morning, you don't just survive the day, you lead it. Jack is a 35-year-old engineer in Austin, smart, capable, driven, but every morning he woke up already anxious. His alarm would ring, and before he'd even take a deep breath, his fingers were scrolling, emails, headlines, notifications. The day hadn't started, yet somehow he already felt behind. This pattern lasted for years, until one morning, something changed. A friend gave him a copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Jack opened it with mild curiosity, but one sentence struck him deeply. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. That single line flipped something in him. The next morning, Jack didn't reach for his phone. He sat up, took 3 slow breaths, and asked himself one simple question. What kind of person do I want to be today? That was it. No elaborate routine. Just one mindful moment, and over time, that moment changed everything. Jack's stress didn't vanish, and life didn't get magically easier. But he was no longer starting his day as a passive participant. He was starting it with intention, and that intention set the tone for everything that followed. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control every outcome, but we can control how we begin. So tomorrow, try it. Don't just wake up. Decide who you want to be, and rise like you mean it. Most of us hope for a smooth day, but the Stoics didn't build their peace on hope. They built it on preparation. That's where negative visualization comes in. It sounds dark at first, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for emotional strength. Instead of wishing everything goes perfectly, you take a few minutes in the morning to imagine what might go wrong. Maybe your train is delayed. Your coworker is short-tempered. Your child throws a tantrum. Instead of being blindsided, you've already been there. In your mind. You've practiced how to respond, not react. This ancient practice doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you resilient. It softens the blow of daily frustrations and prepares your mind to stay calm, no matter the circumstance. Marcus Aurelius began his mornings by reminding himself that he would meet people who were rude, selfish, or ungrateful. Not because he wanted to judge them, but so he wouldn't be surprised by them. That mental rehearsal gave him strength. The bonus? When you imagine losing what you take for granted, it brings those things into sharper focus. You hug your loved ones longer. You savor your coffee more slowly. You show up fully, because now you understand how fragile it all is. This is the paradox of negative visualization. By imagining loss, you gain gratitude. So tomorrow morning, before your day begins, take a minute. Ask yourself, if today gets hard, who do I want to be in? The middle of it? Then carry that version of you into everything. There's one truth we all know, yet rarely dare to look straight in the eye. We will die. The Stoics didn't ignore this truth. They embraced it. They called it Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning, remember, you must die. But this wasn't meant to scare. It was meant to clarify. When you remember that life is finite, everything you take for granted begins to feel more meaningful. Your morning coffee isn't just coffee. It's a gift. That hug from your partner? A moment you may never get again. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. He wasn't obsessed with death. He was obsessed with living on purpose. In a world that moves fast, that numbs discomfort and avoids stillness, remembering our mortality can feel countercultural. But that's exactly why it's powerful. When you start your morning with this awareness, you shift your mindset. You stop complaining about the weather. You speak more kindly. You act more deliberately, because you understand today is not guaranteed. This is not about living in fear. It's about living with urgency, the beautiful kind. So tomorrow, as the sun rises, take a breath and remind yourself, this could be my last morning. If it is, how will I live it, and then live? Not as if you're dying, but as if you're finally awake. A meaningful morning doesn't require an expensive journal, a meditation app, or waking up at 4 a.m. It starts with a simple shift. Choose to begin your day on purpose. The Stoics weren't chasing routines for productivity. They used habits as tools to build clarity, resilience, and virtue before the world interrupted. If you're not sure where to start, here are 5 simple practices anyone can do, no matter your lifestyle. First, wake up at the same time. Each day, not to impress anyone, but to anchor yourself in consistency. When your mornings are stable, your mind becomes steady. Second, begin in silence. Before the noise of notifications, give yourself 3 to 5 quiet minutes. Breathe, observe your thoughts, let stillness reset your mind. Third, write one sentence, not a long journal entry, just one line. Maybe it's your intention, maybe it's a reminder of who you want to be today. That single thought becomes your compass. Fourth, read something timeless. A paragraph from Meditations, a line from Seneca. Let ancient wisdom shape your modern mindset. Fifth, make your bed. Not because it's trendy, but because it's a declaration. I bring order to my world, starting with what's in front of me. These acts seem small, but they create momentum, and momentum turns into identity. You don't need more time in the morning. You need more presence.
Start small. Stay steady. Let your morning become a mirror, reflecting the person you're choosing to become. Some mornings, you'll miss your alarm. You'll skip the silence, forget the journaling, maybe even scroll mindlessly on your phone. It happens, and when it does, the most stoic response isn't guilt or self-criticism. It's compassion. Stoicism is often misunderstood as being cold, rigid, or emotionless. But the great Stoics were deeply human. Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most powerful man of his time, wrote in his journal not as a perfect philosopher, but as a man reminding himself again and again to return to his values, even when he slipped. That's the point, returning. Discipline isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up, calmly, kindly, and consistently. So if you skip a morning, breathe, reflect, begin again tomorrow. If you feel lazy or off track, observe it, learn from it, but don't shame yourself for being human. The Stoic path is a long one, built not in grand transformations, but in small, repeated efforts, some successful, some not. True strength isn't in never missing a step. It's in continuing the journey, even when it gets hard, even when you feel like starting over. So be patient, be honest, but also be kind. Tomorrow is another morning, another chance, and the most stoic thing you can do is show up for yourself again. In a world that glorifies big wins and dramatic transformations, we often overlook the quiet power of small acts. But the Stoics never did. They believed that character isn't built in a single, grand gesture. It's shaped through ordinary moments, repeated with intention. Take something as simple as making your bed. It might seem trivial, especially when no one's watching. But it's not about appearances. It's about discipline. It's about telling yourself, I bring order to the world, starting with what's mine to control. Or moving your alarm clock across the room. A tiny inconvenience, yes, but also a powerful message to your brain. I choose action over ease. These acts don't go viral, they don't earn applause, but they do something better. They shape who you're becoming. Each time you choose structure over chaos, presence over distraction, or calm over reaction, you're casting a vote for the person you want to be, and those votes add up. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about conquering empires before breakfast. He wrote about doing the next right thing, no matter how small, with focus and integrity. So don't underestimate the power of a clean desk, a quiet breath, or a made bed. Because greatness, stoic greatness, isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and practiced one small act at a time. Discipline is often seen as a solo pursuit, just you, your goals, and your willpower. But even the Stoics knew the path to virtue doesn't have to be walked alone. Marcus Aurelius had mentors. Seneca wrote letters to friends seeking wisdom. Epictetus taught in groups, not in isolation, because growth, when shared, becomes stronger. It becomes real. If you're building a new morning routine, trying to break a habit, or simply seeking more presence in your day, find someone to walk with you, not to compete, not to impress, but to encourage, reflect, and hold space for the journey. An accountability partner isn't a drill sergeant. It's a mirror, someone who reminds you who you said you wanted to be. It could be a friend who checks in weekly, a co-worker who texts up and journaling, a sibling who walks with you in silence, even someone online walking the same path. What matters isn't where they are, it's that they're committed like you, because when you know someone else is showing up, you're more likely to show up too. And when you fall off, they help you return. Not with shame, but with shared experience. So if this journey feels lonely, it doesn't have to be. Find your partner, set your intention, and grow together. Because accountability isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And Stoic strength isn't silence, it's shared commitment. A calm morning doesn't begin when your alarm rings, it begins the night before. The Stoics believed in preparation, not just for battle or hardship, but for life itself. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of forethought, imagining the next day, considering your actions in advance, and clearing mental clutter before rest. In today's world, we treat night as downtime, a reward for surviving the day. But what if it became something more? What if evening was your foundation for peace? Start small. Put your phone away an hour before bed, not as punishment, but as protection from noise, distraction, and overstimulation. Reflect on the day, what went well? Where did I react? What will I do differently tomorrow? Write down just one sentence, your intention for the morning. Place your journal and a book on your nightstand, ready, visible, inviting. This isn't a routine for productivity, it's a ritual of care. When you prepare your space and your mind, you give your future self a head start, one rooted in clarity, not chaos. The Stoics didn't need apps or alarms. They relied on reflection, rhythm, and the quiet discipline of readiness. So tonight, don't just collapse into sleep. Close the day with purpose, so you can greet the next with presence, because tomorrow always begins tonight. You've made it to the end, or maybe the beginning, because that's what a Stoic morning really is. Not a rule book, not a trend, but a quiet invitation to begin again. Not just tomorrow, but now. You've seen that it's not about waking up at 5 a.m. or having the perfect journal layout. It's about something deeper, choosing day after day to live with intention, clarity, and calm, even when the world feels messy, loud, and uncertain. Each idea you've explored here, from waking with purpose, to embracing small acts, to preparing the night before, they're not checkboxes, they're choices, and they are yours to make. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to be perfect. What you need is presence. What you need is consistency. What you need is the courage to keep returning no matter how many times you fall away. That's the Stoic way. Start small, start honest, start quietly, but start. And if this message spoke to you, not just as information, but as something your inner voice has been trying to say for a long time, don't let it fade. Take one idea from this journey, practice it tomorrow, then the next day, then again. And if it brings you peace, share it. Share it with someone waking up overwhelmed, with someone chasing stillness, with someone who's ready to stop surviving mornings and start living them. Leave a comment. What's one thing you'll change about your morning, starting now? And if you want more Stoic tools, more quiet clarity in a noisy world, subscribe. You belong here. We're walking this path together.